So after the Aerosmith performance, which again, the irony cannot be overstated in my opinion, that they had an issue with drums to start the show with the fill-in drummer, which totally not his fault, is incredible.
That's a very Curb Your Enthusiasm moment when you think about it. Incredible. So show ends, people start to disperse, and I turn and Taylor Hawkins is right by me watching, because again, everybody's just out watching. And I see Taylor start to walk towards the backstage, and I see him, and I call out to him, and he waves to go with him. So I walk backstage with Taylor. And back there is a massive, these tents, these temporary drapery with stanchions to make temporary dressing rooms. There's a ton of them back there. Oh, I forgot to mention, Melissa Etheridge played with Nuno Bettencourt. I mentioned that earlier, but they performed together. I forget what song they did, but they also performed. And Nuno and Extreme announced as the opening act for a 50th anniversary show that was announced today that Aerosmith are doing at Fenway Park in their home of Boston in September. September 18th.
Which is going to be awesome. I got to make a trip for that. So, forgot to mention that performance. I'm sure there's some others I forgot as well. It was a very long night. But I go back there and I see Brad Whitford, spoke to him briefly. I saw Tom Hamilton, spoke to him briefly. Joe Perry walked by me. I didn't get a chance to see him. I think he did a runner out of there. I did not see Johnny Depp. I'm sure they went right out the door and into a car. And I did not see Steven Tyler, who probably did the same thing. So I saw Tom, I saw Brad, talk to them briefly, and I spoke to a few of the Crue guys who I know for Aerosmith. And then John Douglas, the fill-in drummer for Joey Kramer, who played, introduced himself to me. And we had a long, extended conversation for a while. And I spoke to some other people on the Aerosmith crew, Cosmo, their lighting guy, who's a friend, and guy that I'd met, I believe his name was John, and I saw just a bunch of guys on the crew that I know all saying hi. It was nice. And then, so John comes out, and I kind of meet him for the first time, and before I could even say anything, he goes, "My ears didn't work. My ears." And for you guys that don't know, in the industry, when artists can use monitors one of two ways. The big old school way, which is just putting a big wedge of speakers on the stage, which a lot of artists still do, or wearing little ear monitors where it's much more controlled. And artists feel very differently about whether they do that or not. And so they call it their ears when they're talking about their monitors. And he goes, "My ears totally out. I was lost up there, totally out." And I said to him, I go, "John," and we had a really nice conversation, and he told me, obviously he's in an awkward spot. He's Joey's tech. He didn't expect to be thrown into doing this, but by all accounts, he's done a great job with it. And he also told me that Joey has been incredibly cool to him throughout the whole process. So there's no weirdness or animosity there between, because he's filling Joey's spot. That's a strange thing, man, to go from setting up a guy's drums to sitting behind him and playing the show. Tommy Thayer was Kiss's tour manager. Now he dresses as Ace and plays in Kiss. There was a show where Peter Criss's tech once played for him, Ed Cannon, who I just saw recently. So it's not unprecedented, but it's awkward at times. And John told me that Joey's been great to him, and there's been no issue there. And, he's just there to do the job until they tell him Joey's coming back. But he said he couldn't believe that had happened. And I said, I couldn't either. And he was telling me what happened. He goes, "I just started and my ears weren't there. I was hearing nothing. I couldn't hear the band." So I felt bad for him, but I said to him, and here's the part that's crazy. I said to him, "John, I guarantee you, as bad as it may have felt for you, and although I picked up on it immediately and it was rough, I guarantee you nobody out there realized it." And he goes, "Oh, come on." I go, "I'm telling you, nobody out there realized it." And you know what? I was right. because I'm the first person of every review I've read from Music Cares that heard this, recognized it, diagnosed it, and talked to the guy about it who confirmed what he was going through. He goes, come on, man, that's a whole room of music industry people. I go, John, they're drinking, they're partying, it's the end of the night. I guarantee you nobody picked up on it, and nobody did. So that's why it was rough, but it was a legitimate technical problem that caused it. Then afterwards, I went around the corner, I saw Nuno, I saw Taylor Hawkins, I saw Dave Grohl, and we all sat back in that hallway for a good hour, just shooting the shit, having a good time, talking about the evening and talking about other stuff and talking about things that, you know, some stuff obviously has to stay off the record of things going on. But it was great to see them. It's great to spend some time with Grohl and Taylor and Nuno, and we had a nice time. Everyone else had split. The only guys still lingering were the Foo Fighters guys and a couple of the AEROSMITH guys and Nuno. And then at the end of the night, it was the Foo Fighters and Nuno just sitting back there. So I walked out around 1:30 in the morning, more like 1, grabbed an Uber and got back to West Hollywood and I had the time of my life. And I got to thank, again, Sammy Hagar and his manager, Tom, for getting me in. And I got to thank Roger and SiriusXM and everybody for keeping me out there and wanting me to go to this and cover this, realizing it would be special for me. It was very productive